Hello, I'm Dr. Karin Edwards, and I'm honored to serve as president of Clark College. Most of you familiar with Clark may see this as my inaugural State of the College address since assuming the presidency back in June of 2020. Technically, it's my second, and more accurately, it's my second attempt at sharing my inaugural message. For those of you who tuned in back in January for the originally scheduled State of the College address, you'll remember that we had a glitch and had to retreat and regroup. These things happen, and in a way, our first endeavor at getting out my State of the College address is emblematic of the last year here at the college. Due to the pandemic, we, like all community colleges, have had to retreat and regroup a few times. Today, I'm here from our beautiful campus. Moving our programs from the traditional in-person model of higher education delivery to an almost exclusive distance-based model has been a monumental undertaking. We continue to tweak and alter programs in order to deliver the best quality of education possible in these challenging times. Believe me, we've learned and continue to learn from our setbacks, but also our accomplishments, and there have been some remarkable accomplishments. Today, I look forward to sharing some great things with you, things that continue to make all of us proud of Clark College, especially our students. But I also need to share some serious challenges we face. It's important to do this so that we can clearly recognize where we are and where we need to be in order to create the kind of learning opportunities that serve all of our deserving students. In addition to the COVID-19 crisis, I'm speaking to you during a time of unrest and uncertainty in our country, and I want to talk about how this environment is affecting us and how we're working diligently to move positively through these troubled waters. But before we get into the substance of my address, I want to acknowledge some important people who work so hard to serve this institution. I want to thank our college community, our outstanding faculty and staff, Clark College Board of Trustees, Clark College Foundation Board of Directors and the Alumni Board, and our community partners and supporters. Thank you for your continued support. You are the Clark College stakeholders that make our institution stronger. I am grateful for your interest, support, and investment in the college, and thus the lives of our students. I also want to acknowledge the land upon which Clark College sits is located on the ancestral lands of the federally recognized tribes of the Cowlitz and Lower Columbia people. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We pay respects to the Indigenous elders, past and present, as we respectfully consider the many legacies of violence, erasure, displacement, migration, and the settlement that brings us together today. When I accepted the role of president last February, I knew that the first year transitioning into my role might be challenging, but I couldn't have predicted just how challenging. As I previously said, Clark is adapting to challenges of COVID-19. In my address, I will share some of these details and how we're keeping students central to our work. We will have the opportunity to hear from two of our students who will share their experiences. I will also address what I see as opportunities and challenges for our future. Let me begin by expressing my commitment to advancing racial equity at Clark. Along with the Board of Trustees, I ascribe to the mission of the State Board of Community and Technical Colleges. Leading with racial equity, our colleges maximize student potential and transform lives within a culture of belonging that advances racial, social, and economic justice in service to our diverse communities. Why lead with racial equity? Because our data shows clear disparities in how students of color and from other systemically non-dominant communities experience Clark. For example, 86% of white students successfully pass gateway classes, such as math and English, versus 80% of students of color. Last year, 53% of white students completed English 100 and 102 in their first year, versus 43% students of color. Similar disparities exist when we compare student retention rates term to term and year to year. What drives these disconcerting disparities? What we know from research is that students of color experience additional barriers in the classroom and the community because of disenfranchisement, systemic racism, microaggressions, and racial aggressions. As a result, there is a call to action to do everything that we can to close the equity gaps that exist for our historically underserved, including students and employees of color. In order to make progress, we believe we must use an equity lens to review every policy and program, from recruitment and hiring to curriculum and student services to supporting college operations. Equity is woven into everything we do. Clark College's Social Equity Plan provides a roadmap for this work. Here is some of the progress to report. I want to acknowledge the college's social equity team for leading this work. The college has codified that all employees take one power, privilege, and inequity training course per year. Clark has adopted an equitable decision-making tool. From budgeting to recruitment to operations and instruction, this tool provides framework to ensure decisions are made using an equity lens. Last year, we introduced a year-long intensive professional development program for employees focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion called Broadening Understanding Intercultural Leadership Development, otherwise known as BUILD. The BUILD program has created a new cohort of leaders at the college, guiding their peers towards syllabus redesigns, new training sessions, and new ways of thinking that help dismantle white supremacy culture. Some of the BUILD graduates worked with our digital media art students to design a new logo that employees can display to let our Dreamer students know that they are welcome here. Because at Clark College, we welcome all students. This work extends beyond the college walls. In 2020, our staff have conducted training on topics of power, privilege, and equity for the external community and other community colleges. This month, Clark is hosting its second annual Northwest Regional Equity Conference for Higher Education. It's important to celebrate progress. It's equally important to remind ourselves we have much work to do to close the equity gaps to increase student success. COVID-19 has amplified disparities that persist for Black, Indigenous, people of color, low-income, and first-generation college student populations. They are more likely to have experienced job loss, childcare issues, and family disruption. Communities of color disproportionately are affected by the virus, experiencing higher incident rates and higher death rates. In a typical year, many of our students struggle to meet basic needs: housing, transportation, healthcare, childcare, and food. For far too many of our students, 2020 wasn't a typical year. It was worse. Clark College staff and faculty have responded in many ways. The Penguin Pantry provided a record 576 food boxes for students through the monthly drive-up distribution system. Information Technology Services distributed almost 900 loaner laptops and Wi-Fi hotspots for our students. Our tutoring services, our mental health counselors, our computer health desk, and all of them stepped up to find ways to serve students online at a time when their needs were greater than ever. Thanks to the Clark College Foundation, community organizations, and Federal CARES Act, 1,200 students received emergency funding grants to help them stay in school this past fall. It's been exhausting work, done from employees' kitchen tables and bedroom term home offices, and I want to take a moment to praise our faculty and staff and tell them it was all worth it. Your innovation, your dedication have truly made a difference in keeping our students on a promising pathway during this crisis. Josiah Joner can speak directly to these student experiences. This remarkable young man is president of the Associated Students of Clark College.
Thank you all so much for being here today. My name is Josiah Joner, and I have the privilege to serve as president of the Associated Students of Clark College. It is truly an honor to deliver Clark College's first ever ASCC State of the Students Address. I want to start today with a short story, a story of my relationship with Clark College. I am now in my second year here at Clark, but my relationship with the college reaches much further back. to when my dad enrolled in one of the first Running Start classes as a first-generation college student. After graduating from Clark, he continued his education to graduate school. Later, my grandma attended Clark and also continued to graduate school, where she is now a professor and practicing counselor today. But most recently, my mom, who as a full-time mom with 4 children, began her higher education recently at Clark College and is continuing her studies in the arts right now. I have an aunt, many cousins, and 2 siblings, all of whom have attended Clark. Truly, we are a Clark College family, and we would not be where we are today without Clark. However, my family's relationship with Clark is not unique. It is in fact the story of countless students and families who live in our community. And now I have the privilege to attend Clark and serve the students as the student body president. Now, I won't sugarcoat this and say that the students here at Clark are doing just fine, that everyone who wants to be here is here, and that we aren't facing any hardships, because we are. And it has been a tumultuous and strenuous year on all fronts. But despite the challenges that this year has brought, we student leaders have still been able to hold dozens of events, meet with countless students, and build relationships with the staff and faculty here at Clark. At the beginning of fall term, the ASCC learned of student concerns about financial aid, tuition costs, access to resources, and support for other students with responsibilities. So we created a Clark College Resources and Opportunities page on Canvas, the college's online learning system. With several hundred students already enrolled in the page, we hope to see the page build and grow over the next few months to become a central hub for student resources. Student government and the Activities Programming Board have held dozens of virtual events, including online forums, Zoom snack and chats, and fun events like trivia contests and morning yoga to help keep students connected. The ASCC met with our legislative representatives to advocate for funding for the college, and we've been active in supporting the Penguin Pantry to help provide hundreds of students with free food boxes. Students at Clark have no doubt faced a difficult year. With the increase of uncertainty that this pandemic has brought, it has also brought decreases in student enrollment, student engagement, and increases in students' needs. Though it is true that we are all in this together, we are not all in the same boat. As we continue through winter quarter and move to spring, we students will need more support. And I believe that the most important thing to do for our students right now is to be there for them. Whether it's simply an encouraging email, providing food through the Penguin Pantry, or providing opportunities for students to stay engaged and connected here at Clark, the resources we provide truly have an impact on our students. And as my story shows, on the families in our community too. Thank you.
I always feel inspired when I hear Josiah speak. It affirms our core purpose at Clark, student success. What do we mean by student success? To academic leaders, it doesn't just mean good grades, but a holistic sense of fulfillment. A student survey by the Educational Advisory Board confirms this. It showed that students want to become strong candidates for careers in their chosen field, emerge as competent, trustworthy adults, look back on their time without regret, and make their mentors and family members proud. We are here to help students achieve this level of success. Previously, completion rates at the college remained less than 50%, and various populations of students were not reporting a holistic sense of fulfillment with their college experience. 3 years ago, Clark adopted Guided Pathways framework. This college-wide effort seeks to identify and close equity gaps through research, quantitative and qualitative data, and pilot programs that test new policies and procedures for the college. Through Guided Pathways, we embrace a growth mindset, which shifts expecting students to be college-ready to the college being student-ready. We see disparities of 7 to 16% when we look at completion rates and retention rates between different student populations. Guided Pathways builds specific strategies to close these gaps, while at the same time striving to increase overall retention and completion rates. This past year, Clark College faculty and staff have reached a major milestone. They have developed clear program maps for students to provide predictable schedules and specific supports to help students stay on the path and complete their program more efficiently. Clark is one of the first community colleges in the state to reach this goal. We received $1 million through the State Workforce Investment Act so we can take the next important steps. These include increasing equity training and competencies across the college landscape, developing culturally relevant and anti-racist curriculum, increasing outreach and support to our Black, Indigenous, and communities of color, expanding on success coaching for faculty, staff, and students, and building a sense of belonging. I'm excited about this work because it's tangible and it's common sense strategies and measurable goals and outcomes. We want all of our students to be able to see themselves as successful students at Clark. We have several programs in place that provide the space and sense of belonging, such as our Veterans Resource Center and our Diversity Center. We're expanding in areas like MESA, Math, Engineering, Science, and Achievement Program, which provides support to underrepresented student groups pursuing careers in STEM fields. At Large Correctional Facility, we are expanding educational offerings to include degree program, in addition to GED and high school coursework. In December, the U.S. Congress approved legislation that repeals a ban on incarcerated students accessing the Pell Grant, a prohibition that has been in place since 1994. Politicians, as well as advocates and researchers, say increasing access to funding for college for incarcerated students can be an important tool for reducing recidivism. To help students succeed, we must meet students where they're at on their life's journey. To help better illustrate this, I want to welcome another wonderful Clark student. Every year, the trustees of every community and technical college in the state nominate a student for the Transforming Lives Award. Tosha Big Eagle is Clark College's 2021 nominee. Let's listen as she shares her story with us.
Hello, my name is Tosha Big Eagle. I am pursuing a bachelor's degree in human development and psychology at WSU Vancouver while completing my certificate of addiction counseling education at Clark College. Addiction is something which has touched my life on many levels. When I was 19 years old and a sophomore in college, I went to a party and was introduced to methamphetamine. It took a hold of my life. Subsequently, I dropped out of college and started my hard journey of addiction. I was incarcerated for the first time when I was 21. Upon my release, I was renewed with hope and determination. I completed treatment and restarted college. Finals week of my second quarter back, I was blindsided. My father, a Dakota Sioux, came to live with me to rebuild our broken relationship. Unfortunately, my father was never able to break his cycle of addiction. In 2008, he overdosed in his sleep on prescription methadone while sitting next to me as I studied for my upcoming finals. Heartbroken, I felt like I was responsible, like I could have stopped it. Sadly, I turned my pain into a heroin addiction. In 2010, God intervened and put me in jail. In the 7 years I spent incarcerated, I took every class and counseling session available. I became a peer mentor, a mediator, and a domestic violence advocate. These positions taught me to be a fair and caring person who leads with respect and love. After leaving prison, it was difficult to find employment. When my son was born, I realized I would need to invest in my education if I wanted to care for him and my family. I enrolled at Clark College and connected with the college's re-entry navigator. With her support and the support of the college's workforce education services, I was able to find resources and programs to help me succeed in college. My son began his own educational journey in the college's on-campus childcare. At Clark, I found opportunities to create community and develop my leadership skills. Through the Addiction Counseling Education Club, I discovered my passion for human services. The Reentry Club gave me a sense of community. I was able to find gainful employment, at first through work study, and now as a staff member in the position of Homelessness Prevention Coordinator. I worked in the West Office, the same place that helped me so much when I was a Clark student. One of the things I love about my work is that I get to help students connect with resources. There is so much available to Clark students: tutoring, counseling, legal aid, dental hygiene, disability services, housing, and tuition and book assistance. Today, I have 11 years of sobriety and over 4 successful years since my release from prison. These past years have brought many hurdles and successes. I am taking care of my maternal grandparents who are infirm. I am the primary provider for my beautiful son who turns 3 in March. My dream is to work with minority youth and their families, and ultimately to pursue a doctorate in prevention science. I want to research ways to change the policies and systems which create barriers and contribute to unhealthy behaviors. Our future is with our children. I believe if we educate and help them at a young age, we can reduce the risk of addiction, violence, and poverty. While addiction, trauma, and incarceration have touched my life, they do not define who I am. I want to continue to help others and be a force in the progress of treatment, prevention, and intervention. Today, the climate in our nation and world is filled with turmoil and conflict. Many of us are struggling to overcome barriers in our pursuit for education. We feel lost trying to adapt to a new form of virtual living while contending with economic and health insecurities. At times, these barriers seem harrowing, but it is my belief that as a college and a community, we can overcome them together. Thank you.
Thank you, Tosha, for sharing that powerful story. I honor everything you have achieved. Students like Tosha are what inspire us here at Clark and keep us moving forward. And let me move to another topic of critical importance, the budget. We are committed to achieving financial stability at Clark. Over the years, as enrollment has declined and expenses have increased, we have experienced ongoing budget deficits, which have required reduction in faculty and staff, recalibration, and reorganization. Last year, the Board of Trustees and college leadership began the work of a multi-year budget forecasting as a valuable tool in a long-range budget planning. It's even more challenging now because of COVID-19. We are in a deficit this current budget year, primarily due to the drop in enrollment. This isn't just a Clark phenomenon. A National Research Center reported that community college enrollments are down by 9.5%. Nationally, first-year enrollment is down by 19%. Enrollment of underrepresented minorities has taken an especially hard hit. It is down by nearly 30%. At Clark, overall enrollment is down approximately 15%, both in the fall and winter quarters. This translates to an approximate $800,000 loss in revenue per quarter. Because of COVID-19 and reduced enrollment, Clark has a $2.2 million deficit in this current budget year. This shortfall is partially offset by portions of CARES funding allocated to the college through the state board in December. In addition, the governor has proposed a $340,000 cut in our allocation for this current year. We are working right now to identify the amount that we will need to cut before the year's end. We are also building our budget for the next fiscal year, which begins July 1st. We anticipate further cuts from the legislature, some of which are already in discussion. We can partially close the gap by using $7.7 million in CARES funding. This supplemental grant was just announced in January. We are still waiting for guidance on the allowable use of these grant funds. However, early guidance suggests that we will be able to use part of these funds to offset revenue shortfalls, as well as cover increased costs associated with our COVID-19 response. In addition to these funds, we will also use savings from underspending in our current budget. But that won't completely close the long-term gap between our rising costs and declining revenues. I want to be optimistic, but I also need to be realistic. And I want to be transparent with all of you, employees and community partners alike, about where we stand. We anticipate cuts at the state level, and those cuts will impact our ability to serve students. We believe revenues will increase as enrollment improves, but it will take time. In the meantime, we're developing a new budget model that will link directly to strategic priorities. Former First Lady Michelle Obama once said, "The path to progress will always be uphill." As we embark on this path to progress, I think it is key to pace ourselves, practice good self-care, and always have in our mind's eye why we do this work. We want to help students succeed. Right now, our community and our students need us to help rebuild our economy. We can adapt curriculum to ensure students learn work-relevant skills. Here's an example. This past year, Clark launched its 4th Bachelor's of Applied Science degree in cybersecurity. Our enrollment in our bachelor's degree programs in the fall term was 35% over projections. The field of cybersecurity is extremely important now, and demand will only increase as reliance on digital modalities increases. Community colleges have built-in flexibility to adjust and adapt to workforce needs. Workplace demands will change, and we must examine how our curriculum and credentials offered need to be altered to meet priorities resulting from the new normal, consequent the post-pandemic shifts in workplace realities. To do this, we need our partners. We're grateful for our local employers and businesses who partner with Clark to develop relevant programs that fill workplace needs and help our graduates find work. Our Career Launch program connects students with paid work opportunities so that they can connect their classroom instruction to real-world experiences. We currently have 4 Career Launch endorsed programs: mechatronics, 2 programs in automotive technologies, and engineering. Our industry partners include SEH America, Toyota America Corporation, and Dick Hanna dealerships. We have more Career Launch partnerships in the works for surveying, baking and cuisine, and welding. Thanks to partners like McKay Sposito, Madden Industrial Craftsmen, and Beaches and Warehouse 23. Our allied health programs are tightly woven into healthcare partnerships with Peace Health Southwest, the Vancouver Clinic, Legacy, Providence, Rainier Springs, and Lifeline, to mention a few. As a result, our graduates are sought after for their well-developed clinical skills. For our academic transfer students, we've created a strong partnership with WSU Vancouver. We are working closely with our K-12 system so that students can transition smoothly from system to system. As the community's college, we will be active partners in 2021. Clark will participate in the Community Advisory Group for the Interstate Bridge Replacement Program, and we have partnered with C-Tran on their new bus rapid transit line along Mill Plain Boulevard out to our Clark East campus. We are actively engaged with business and economic development leaders to innovate at Clark East, an important business and community hub. We will also work with community partners in North Clark County to develop plans for Clark College at Boschma Farms in Ridgefield. This project is ready for construction, ranked high on the state's priority list for capital projects. We are grateful for our partners at Clark College Foundation. This includes hundreds of thousands of dollars in emergency grants for housing, transportation, and other basic needs, and nearly $15 million in scholarships. But we still have progress to make in order to reach our $35 million campaign by next year. If you haven't yet contributed to the campaign, or you have the ability to give again, there is not a more important time than now to do so. I want to publicly thank every donor and every corporate partner who is working with the foundation to support students. Since becoming president, I've had the opportunity to connect with so many different leaders in the community, even if those connections have been virtual. I'm inspired by the energy and relationships I see developing between Clark College and local business and nonprofit communities. What I'm learning is that we have a lot of people out in the community who are cheering for us and ready to work with us to open doors to opportunities for Clark students. So what lies ahead for Clark College? It's tempting to talk about what happens when the vaccine is fully administered and we can go back to normal, whatever that means. I think deep down we all know there is a new and very different normal ahead. I'll offer a quote from C.S. Lewis. There are far better things ahead than any we leave behind. It's been an extraordinary year of innovation and adaptation. Our faculty have redesigned curriculum, created new processes, and implemented new teaching strategies online. Our e-learning, information technology, student services, and facilities staff have been right there with them. Our nursing program fully utilized artificial intelligence technology and virtual simulations to ensure students fulfill their clinical hours. Online teaching accelerated the use of open educational resources instead of costly textbooks. These advances made this past year will serve us well into the future. I am grateful to each person in every position who has reached deep within themselves to make changes in how we work to keep Clark open and keep students in class. We have challenged ourselves, delved into the unfamiliar, and pushed beyond our discomfort to find alternate ways of serving students. Through it, we further recognize our interdependence on one another. It reminds me of a book written by John Cotter titled Our Iceberg is Melting. He takes the complex issue of leading change and distills it to a fable. It's a story of penguins who learn how to work together under stress and uncertainty of rapid change. Our priorities are improving student success, closing racial equity gaps, engaging and responding to community and workforce needs, shoring up our financial future, and creating a welcoming and inclusive learning environment. Like the penguins in Cotter's book, this penguin nation will band together, united in our vision to accomplish these and other important goals. I am inspired daily by our students, faculty, and staff. I wholeheartedly commit to the success of our students, our institution, and our community. Together, we will work through the challenges and create opportunities for all students to succeed. I am honored to serve as president at Clark College as we begin the year of 2021. And I'm asking you to stay safe and take care of yourselves and each other so we can work together to make this year of transition as successful as it can be. Thank you so much, and let's hope next year we'll be able to meet in person as we are meant to, in support of Clark College.